The ship that vanished without a trace, the mystery of USS Cyclops. Imagine standing on the deck of a massive steel ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It is night. The sea stretches endlessly in every direction. The engines rumble beneath your feet. Around you are more than 300 sailors, officers, and passengers. Nobody is panicking. Nobody believes they are in danger. Everything appears normal. And yet, within days, every single person on board will vanish. No distress signal. No survivors. No recce. No explanation. More than 100 years later, the disappearance of USS Cyclops remains one of the greatest unsolved maritime mysteries in history. This is the story of the ship that sailed into the Atlantic and never came back. The year was 1918. World War I was raging across Europe. Millions of soldiers were fighting in trenches. Entire nations depended on ships crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Without those ships, armies could not receive fuel, food, weapons, or raw materials. The ocean had become one of the most important battlegrounds on Earth. Among the vessels supporting the American war effort was USS Cyclops. Built in Philadelphia and launched in 1910, Cyclops was one of the largest ships in the United States Navy. The vessel stretched more than 540 feet long. At full load, it displaced over 19,000 tons. Its primary role was transporting coal and heavy cargo across vast distances. To most sailors, Cyclops was not glamorous. It was not a battleship, carried no massive guns. Instead, it was a workhorse, a giant cargo vessel that helped keep fleets moving. But in war, ships like Cyclops were essential. Without them, entire naval operations could collapse. In early 1918, Cyclops received a new assignment. The ship was ordered to travel to Brazil. Its mission was to collect manganese, or, at first glance, manganese may not sound important. But during World War I, it was extremely valuable. Steel manufacturers used it to strengthen metal. Factories needed enormous amounts of it to produce military equipment. The cargo Cyclops was about to carry would help fuel the war machine. When the ship arrived in Rio de Janeiro, workers began loading thousands of tons of manganese ore into its cargo holds. The operation took days. Cranes swung back and forth. Heavy ore poured into the vessel. By the time loading was complete, Cyclops was carrying an enormous amount of weight. Some later investigators believed the ship may have been dangerously overloaded. Others argued the loading process was technically within acceptable limits. The truth remains debated even today. There was another problem. Before leaving Brazil, Commander George Worley reported that one of the ship's engines had suffered a cracked cylinder. The starboard engine was no longer operating properly. A naval inspection confirmed the damage. Cyclops could still sail, but it would move more slowly and with reduced maneuverability. Despite the issue, the ship was cleared to continue its voyage home. On board were approximately 309 people. These included officers, sailors, passengers, and civilian personnel. Many were looking forward to returning home. Some had families waiting. Others expected to be back within days. None of them knew they would never be seen again. Cyclops departed Brazil and headed north. His journey appeared routine. The vessel eventually arrived in Barbados. There, the crew took on additional supplies and coal. After a brief stop, preparations began for the final stage of the voyage. Baltimore, Maryland. Home. On March 4, 1918, USS Cyclops departed Barbados. This would become the last confirmed sighting of the ship. The Atlantic stretched ahead. The weather initially appeared manageable. The crew settled into their normal routines. Engineers monitored machinery. Radio operators remained at their stations. Officers navigated the ship northward. Then something happened. What exactly happened remains unknown. Days passed. No messages arrived. No updates were received. Cyclops was expected to reach Baltimore around March 13th. The date came and went. The harbor remained empty. At first, officials assumed the ship was delayed. Ocean travel was unpredictable. Ships occasionally arrived late, but concern quickly began to grow. The Navy attempted to establish contact. No response. Again and again, radio operators listened for signals. Nothing. No distress call had been received. No emergency transmission. No final message. Silence. As days turned into weeks, the reality became impossible to ignore. USS Cyclops was missing. The United States Navy launched a large-scale investigation. Ships searched expected routes. Ports were contacted.
No lifeboats.
The disappearance shocked the nation. Large ships do not simply vanish. Even catastrophic sinkings usually leave evidence. Wood, metal,
Cargo.
life preservers, something. Cyclops left nothing behind. That absence of evidence would transform the case into one of history's greatest mysteries. Over the decades, numerous theories emerged. The first and most widely accepted theory involves structural failure. To understand this theory, we need to examine the ship's cargo. Cyclops had been designed primarily to transport coal. Coal is heavy, but manganese ore is significantly denser. Thousands of tons of dense ore were concentrated inside the ship. Some researchers believe the cargo may have been unevenly distributed. If that happened, enormous stress could have been placed on the vessel's structure. Now imagine rough seas. The ship rises on a wave, then drops. Again and again. Steel bends. Pressure builds. A crack forms. Then suddenly the hull fails. If the vessel broke apart quickly enough, the crew might never have had time to send a distress signal. This theory gained additional support decades later. Two sister ships from the same class, Proteus and Nereus, also disappeared while carrying heavy ore cargoes during World War II. To some investigators, that suggested a possible design weakness. Another theory focuses on weather. Official records do not show a major storm directly along Cyclops' route. However, weather forecasting in 1918 was extremely limited.
No satellites existed.
No advanced radar systems existed. Meteorologists often had incomplete information. Some historians believe Cyclops may have encountered violent seas or a powerful storm that was never properly documented. There is also the possibility of a rogue wave. Rogue waves are enormous walls of water that appear unexpectedly. Unlike ordinary waves, they can tower above surrounding seas. Modern scientists have confirmed that rogue waves are real. Some have reached heights capable of severely damaging large ships. A rogue wave striking an already stressed vessel could have been catastrophic. Then came the wartime theories. In 1918, German submarines were operating throughout the Atlantic. Many believed Cyclops had been torpedoed. The theory seemed reasonable. The timing matched. The war was ongoing. Enemy submarines were everywhere. But after the war ended, investigators examined German naval records. No submarine commander reported attacking Cyclops. No evidence connected the disappearance to German forces. The theory gradually lost credibility. Yet the mystery continued growing. As decades passed, another explanation entered popular culture. The Bermuda Triangle. Books, television shows, documentaries. Writers connected Cyclops to the infamous region associated with missing ships and aircraft. Stories of strange magnetic fields, mysterious forces, and unexplained disappearances captured public imagination. But despite its popularity, there is no scientific evidence proving the Bermuda Triangle caused the loss of Cyclops. Most experts consider it folklore rather than a genuine explanation. Perhaps the most haunting part of the story is what was lost. 309 people, sailors, officers, Workers, passengers, families waited for news that never came. Letters stopped arriving. Homes received no answers. Many relatives spent years hoping the mystery would somehow be solved. But it never was. More than a century later, modern technology has located shipwrecks once believed impossible to find. Researchers have discovered vessels resting miles beneath the ocean surface. Entire wrecks have been mapped in remarkable detail. Yet USS Cyclops remains missing. Somewhere beneath the Atlantic Ocean, the truth may still exist. Perhaps the wreck lies in deep water that has never been properly surveyed. Perhaps the ship shattered and scattered across the seafloor. Or perhaps evidence remains hidden in a region few people have explored. No one knows. And that is what makes this mystery so powerful. Not the Bermuda Triangle. Not supernatural theories. Not wild speculation. The real mystery is that a gigantic naval vessel carrying more than 300 people disappeared without leaving a trace. A ship sailed into the Atlantic Ocean, then vanished, and more than 100 years later, humanity still does not know why. USS Cyclops remains one of the greatest unsolved maritime mysteries ever recorded. And somewhere in the darkness beneath the Atlantic, its final story may still be waiting to be discovered.